Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Geopolitical Shenanigans. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into the wacky world of international relations, specifically the time when former President Donald Trump jokingly suggested that Canada, yes, should just become the 51st state. You know, because adding another star to the American flag is as simple as ordering another cheeseburger. This wasn't just any old off-the-cuff remark, though. It was a Trumpian masterpiece, delivered with his signature blend of bravado and questionable judgment. Now you might be thinking, John, isn't Canada like its own country, with its own government and healthcare system that doesn't bankrupt people? Yes, hypothetical viewer, you are absolutely correct. Canada is a proud and independent nation with a long, storied history, but that didn't stop Trump from floating the idea, albeit jokingly, during a dinner with then-Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The audacity of it all. To even suggest such a thing is, frankly, hilarious. But it also speaks to the complex and often comical relationship between the United States and its neighbor to the north. So buckle up as we dissect this diplomatic doozy and explore the history, the humor, and the underlying tensions that make this story so damn entertaining. Now let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer absurdity of the situation. Imagine the logistical nightmare of integrating Canada into the United States. The paperwork alone would be enough to make anyone's head spin. And what about the cultural differences? Canadians are known for their politeness, their love of hockey, and their unique sense of humor. How would that mesh with the American way of life? It's a fascinating thought experiment, to say the least. And let's not forget the economic implications. Canada has a wealth of natural resources, from oil to timber to fresh water. How would those be managed under a unified government? The mind boggles at the possibilities. And what about the political landscape? Canada has its own political parties, its own system of government. How would that integrate with the American system? It's a question that raises more questions than answers. So as we wrap up this episode, let's take a moment to appreciate the humor and the complexity of this hypothetical scenario. It's a reminder that in the world of geopolitics, sometimes the most outlandish ideas can spark the most interesting conversations. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning the world around you. The relationship between the United States and Canada is complicated. It's a tale filled with moments of camaraderie, rivalry, and everything in between. It's like that one friend you've known since kindergarten, the one who knows all your secrets and has seen you grow up. You've shared good times, bad times, and enough awkward encounters to fill a sitcom. From laughing together at shared jokes to navigating the tricky waters of misunderstandings. They've seen you at your best and worst, and yet, somehow, you're still standing. Through thick and thin, the bond remains unbroken. Mostly. Despite the ups and downs, the friendship endures. They share the longest undefended border in the world, stretching over 5,500 miles, which is either a testament to their shared values or a cosmic joke about their military budgets. It's a unique relationship, one that defies the usual norms of international boundaries. Over the centuries, they've gone from reluctant neighbors to wary allies to, dare we say it, friends. This evolution has been marked by significant events and shared experiences. They've fought wars against each other, looking at you, War of 1812, and alongside each other in the World Wars, standing shoulder to shoulder in the face of global conflict. They've fought wars together, forging bonds on the battlefield that have translated into peacetime alliances. Each other, World Wars I and II, and even managed to create a free trade agreement that hasn't completely imploded yet. The economic ties between the two nations are strong, with trade flowing freely across the border. But let's not sugarcoat things. The relationship isn't without its challenges. There's always been an undercurrent of tension, a sort of sibling rivalry that never quite goes away, a sort of little brother, big brother dynamic at play. Canada often feels like the younger sibling, trying to carve out its own identity. Canada, with its politeness and penchant for peacekeeping, is often seen as the more sensible sibling. It's the country that prides itself on diplomacy and a calm demeanor. The United States, on the other hand, is, well, the United States, a global superpower with a penchant for, shall we say, assertive foreign policy. It's the sibling that often takes charge, sometimes to the chagrin of its northern neighbor. The year was 2018, a year filled with political drama, unexpected twists, and moments that seemed straight out of a satirical comedy. The setting trumps opulent Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, a place known for its extravagant decor and high-profile gatherings. This resort, a place that screams subtlety with all the restraint of a gilded rhinoceros, was the backdrop for an evening that would be remembered for its sheer absurdity. Trump and Trudeau were having dinner, presumably discussing important matters of state, trade agreements, and international relations. Or perhaps more pressing issues like whether ketchup is an acceptable condiment for steak. It's not, by the way, in case you were wondering. But then, amidst the clinking of champagne glasses and the awkward silences that often accompany such high-stakes dinners, Trump, in all his Trumpian glory, dropped the bombshell. "Why don't you guys just join us?" he quipped, with a grin that suggested he was only half joking, suggesting that Canada ditch its sovereignty and become, you guessed it, America's 51st state. The room fell silent, the weight of the suggestion hanging in the air. Now, to be fair, Trump framed it as a joke, a light-hearted comment meant to break the ice. But like most of his jokes, it landed with all the grace of a lead balloon at a birthday party, leaving everyone in the room unsure of how to react. Trudeau, bless his Canadian soul, managed a nervous chuckle, his mind likely racing through 1,000 diplomatic responses. He probably wondered if they had any poutine recipes in the White House kitchen, a small comfort in an otherwise surreal moment. The other dignitaries present likely exchanged uncomfortable glances, their minds a whirlwind of confusion and disbelief. Unsure whether to laugh, cry, or start drafting their resignation letters, they sat in stunned silence, the absurdity of the situation almost too much to handle. The sheer absurdity of it all was almost too much to handle, a moment that would be recounted in political circles for years to come. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion, each second stretching into an eternity of disbelief. Except the car was Canadian diplomacy, a symbol of careful negotiation and respect, now teetering on the edge of a cliff. And the crash site was a buffet table piled high with shrimp cocktails and bad decisions, a fitting metaphor for an evening that defied all expectations. Trump, never one to let facts get in the way of a good story or a bad joke, probably saw his proposition as a stroke of genius, a brilliant art-of-the-deal maneuver. After all, he was known for his unconventional negotiating tactics, like threatening to slap tariffs on allies and insulting world leaders on Twitter. But here's the thing. Canada wasn't exactly clamoring to be annexed by its southern neighbor. They already had universal health care, a functioning government, and a prime minister who didn't look like he'd just stumbled out of a tanning bed at 3 a.m. What could the United States possibly offer them that they didn't already have? The answer, of course, is nothing. Canada, despite its proximity to the United States, has forged its own path, embracing a more progressive and inclusive society. They've legalized marijuana, embraced multiculturalism, and generally avoided starting wars in the Middle East. In other words, they're basically everything Trump's America wasn't. You know, sometimes friendships can get a bit too close for comfort. It's like, you want to be there for each other, but there's this fine line you have to walk. Too much closeness can lead to complications, misunderstandings, and, well, a little bit of tension. It's a delicate balance, really. Laughter. The best medicine, they say. But, have you ever thought about what it might cost? Sometimes a joke can go too far, and what was meant to be funny can end up hurting someone. It's important to know when to draw the line, to understand that not all laughs come without a price. So yeah, think before you joke. Living next to someone can be a mixed bag. On one hand, you've got a built-in friend, someone to borrow sugar from or chat with over the fence. On the other hand, too much familiarity can sometimes lead to friction. It's a bit of a tightrope walk, balancing friendliness with boundaries. Are they friends, neighbors, or frenemies? Sometimes it's hard to tell. They say you should keep your friends close and your enemies closer, but what about your neighbors? Especially those just a stone's throw away to the north. It's a tricky situation, being close, but not too close. You want to maintain a good relationship, yet preserve your own space. It's all about finding that sweet spot where everyone feels comfortable.